Oh my. Aloha and welcome. I don't know who's going to see this or not see this because I had it set up completely different, but it would not allow me to use my camera. And then when I fixed the camera issue, it said that it was done. So I have no idea what happened with that, but we're going to carry on. It's a good thing I have some kind of uh, experience with computers and dealing with these kind of issues because this is not easy. It just does not seem to do what you would think it should do. But that's okay because we are here and it is Halloween. And Halloween is my favorite holiday. Absolute favorite holiday. I was going to have my hair all done and my makeup all done. But you know what? It's 80 degrees. 80. It's October. We're almost in November. This is crazy warm weather. And I think that we can attribute that to all the sun activity and all the excessive energy that is in the air right now, and that the earth is being pummeled with, for want of a better word. What we don't understand often is that that energy that is hitting us through sunspots, solar flares, cosmic events, and things like that, it really does affect us in a lot of different ways. It affects us. So, hello, ghost girl. We need to recognize that because one of the things that I've noticed is that people are very impatient, very impatient. A lot of road rage and that kind of thing. But tonight, our job is to have fun, and we're going to talk about paranormal activity in all the different ways that paranormal activity presents itself. I even wrote a book about it, believe it or not, a little while ago. It's called Paranormal Activity. What are you dealing with? Ghost or spirit, angel or demon or dot dot, because there's a lot of different things you might be dealing with, but those are the ones that most people are familiar with. So I don't know if my ears are as oh, yeah, you could tell I'm a little, just a tad kapakai here, as we would say in Hawaii. So, hi, Lily. Hi. The other stream wasn't working, so I just had to start a whole new one. So hopefully everybody else will be able to jump on also, and things will go better as we move forward than it's been. We did have a lot of kids today, which was awesome because the last few years there's hardly been any kids that were out on Halloween. I sat out front and I gave out a little bit of candy, but I usually give out. Um, we did tattoos and stickers, and I had these little lights, and we had my son Lance made little bracelets. So the kids got to choose what they wanted. And they were really excited about that, and they really did not care about the candy. The candy I was giving more to the adults who are with the kids because you need some energy, some fuel as you're walking up those hills and doing all that stuff. And you deserve a little bit of candy. That's yours and not the kids. That's what I think. I've been doing pretty well. Um, on well, yesterday we did a little class about grounding, and that I feel went pretty well. It did not go up yet on YouTube, but it will be there under my Mystery, Mystics, and Metaphysics playlist, and that is our group on meetup.com. We meet via Zoom, and we have people from all over the world who join us at different times for different subjects. This weekend, on Saturday around 1:30 p.m., I will be teaching a class about your chakra system, and we're going to be going through and we're doing the core chakras, but then I'm going to help you open up your Gaia point and some of your lower chakras so that you can ground, but also release, not release, let go of, because re is doing something again, and a lease is an agreement. So we don't want to release it. What we want to do is we want to let go of it. We want to expunge it. We want to alleviate whatever that issue is. So that will be on Saturday at 1:30. If you'd like to attend, please check out my website, which is www. Let's see, it's not put me in the chat. Okay, www.GeralynStJoseph.com. Put it in the chat. I don't know. Anyway, so it's in the chat there because I know my name is not necessarily spelled the same way other people would spell it. And just go there and check it out. If you want to join us, make sure you sign up. That should be a lot of fun. So, what we want to talk about today is the paranormal. What is the paranormal? The paranormal are things that are part of our natural world, but not everybody is aware of them and not everyone can sense them. People often will have the effects of them, but they may not know what it is that's creating that. So, what is the first thing that comes to mind when we think paranormal? And I would like you to put things into the chat as much as you would like, asking questions. And also, if you do super chats, I'll be able to see it more easily and that kind of thing. But let me know your stories if you want to share, if you're comfortable with that. And we're also going to be pulling cards a little bit later so that we can, just see what's going on in the universe today and see what's happening with you. When we talk about the paranormal, the first thing that people think of is ghosts. Do you believe in ghosts? What is a ghost? I find that there are a lot of people in the community even and who don't have the same consensus on what things are. So when I'm working with someone, I like to give them the definition of each different type of entity or activity so that they know what I'm talking about and I understand what they're talking about and we have a common lexicon. Ghost. What is a ghost? The easiest way to say it is that a ghost is a person without a body. So it's a person without a physical body. It's someone's soul. It's their energetic that is still hanging around on this level of existence, but they don't have their body anymore. Why would that happen? Well, it would happen. There's a couple different reasons. There are several different things that can happen that would create that for someone. The first thing would be that they died suddenly and their consciousness did not want to, couldn't resolve that they were dead. Just like in the movie Ghost. Or even better, a better depiction is Sixth Sense. In the Sixth Sense, M. Night Shyamalan, I felt like that was really, really, so it feels like entities as opposed to, say, coincidence. Yes. So in M. Night Shyamalan's Sixth Sense, what happened was the Bruce Willis character, and I mean, it's been out forever. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want the spoiler, close your ears. But the Bruce Willis character in the very beginning of the movie, he gets shot. And then throughout the movie, he's trying to help this little boy who sees ghosts. And I say ghosts and not spirits, and I'll explain what the difference is in a little bit. But that was one of the most accurate depictions that I've ever seen because Bruce Willis kept living his life as if he were still alive. The things that didn't happen is he wasn't actually sleeping, he was not eating anything, and his wife seemed to not pay any attention to him. He felt like he was being shunned. That is sorry. That is exactly the way they feel because they are suddenly they can't be seen, they can't be heard, they can't eat anything, they can't affect anything, and especially if it's someone who didn't have any kind of, metaphysical training or anything like that, oftentimes they won't know how to affect things, and that brings us to the movie Ghost, where you watch the main character learn how to affect things. He learns how to control the penny. He learns how to make his presence known. That is the way it is. I found those movies to be very, very accurate. So what is the difference between a ghost and a spirit? The difference is whether or not they've crossed over. So, what does it mean to cross over? Some people call that going to heaven or going through the veil, rejoining with Source. Once you cross over, what happens is then you are pure spirit and you are rejoined with God, with Source, with Jesus. You're in heaven, however you want to look at it. The difference is when you're down here and you're a ghost, you still have the same understanding of things and you still have the same vision. So if a ghost lets you know, "Hi, Tasha." If a ghost lets you know something that's about to happen, it's because they can see it because they're like a fly on the wall, much more than like them seeing the future or anything like that. Whereas a spirit can multi-locate and they just have a completely different understanding of things. So a ghost can only be in one place at one time. So if they're in the room with you, they're not upstairs with your mother. If they are sitting on the couch, they are not in the backyard. Another misnomer with ghosts is that people think that ghosts are trapped wherever they are. Now, it is possible to trap a ghost in an area. However, what I have found is that ghosts tend to stay in the same place because they are afraid to go outside or they don't want to. That they're not actually necessarily stuck there. Human beings, one of our big, I don't know whether you would call it a gift or not, but one of the things we do is we are big on denial. So if something doesn't fit into our paradigm of what the world is, what we do is we ignore it or we pretend it's something else. So someone who doesn't believe in ghosts can literally get like knocked down the steps by something and they're still like, "Oh, I just tripped," and no matter what happens, they're not going to accept it. It's got to be really, really bad. So when we become ghosts, we do the same thing. I'm fine. My wife is just angry at me, just like in The Sixth Sense. Imagine time is different for you because now you're timeless. There's nothing to present to you as to the passage of time. You're not getting older. You're not having to do things. You don't have a schedule anymore. So when we're like this, I know ghosts who were around for hundreds of years before I cleared them. And if you're in a room, say you decide to be in a specific room, a lot of them will be in a house and then they'll go into a room because over time things change so much. Imagine just in the last 100 years, if you were outside, just think about how much has changed in the last 100 years. So since the 1920s, what has changed besides all the fashions? Besides the fact that, I mean, here in America, we're a lot plumper. The cars, hugely different. Not just the type of cars, but the number of cars, the way they run, cell phones, electricity, different lights, different buildings. All that changes so much more than if you're just in a room. Yeah, there might be a computer or there might be like a cell phone on the table or whatever, but you can just kind of talk yourself out of that. as opposed to being out in the world and seeing everything that's going on. I clear ghosts myself whenever I find them because I feel that it is not fair. They're basically trapped on a level of existence where they really don't have any way to communicate with most people, and they don't have a way to really, interact. I can't imagine the boredom either, because after a while, like, I mean, we get bored that life is always the same. Could you imagine if you couldn't talk to anybody, nobody could see you, you couldn't eat? I mean, I couldn't imagine not eating. I'm Italian, so, that would be like, ugh, for me. But that's what a ghost deals with. That's their existence. So they will see people come and go. Oh, another one is The Others, the movie The Others. Excuse me. The other one is, The Others. The movie The Others is really good, a depiction of what it's like being a ghost. So Carol says, "How about humming a song in somebody's ear? That's my plan." Well, if it's somebody like me, I'll hear you. If it is someone who is not as open or as sensitive, they may feel a vibration and think that they're getting tinnitus. Currently, here on Earth, a lot of the frequencies are changing, the Schumann resonance is changing, and that makes people more open or more susceptible to energies around them. Another way, how do you know if there's a ghost there? Well, a ghost gets stuck for a variety of reasons. But the number one reason that I have found, since I started clearing ghosts in 1994, is that they're afraid. Most of the ghosts that I've met are either atheists or they're big time religious, where they're afraid they're going to go to hell. I've had ghosts jump in my car as I'm going past. And you say, well, how does that happen? Well, when someone doesn't do an actual clearing, they're like clearing your house, but they're not clearing the ghost. So there's a difference. So if they're doing something to push things out of your house energetically, all they're doing is making that person homeless. They're putting them out on the street. So where do they go? They just wander around until they find somebody who can sense them in some way. And then they generally will attach to them or try to communicate with them. They may jump into somebody. Generally, the places where you will see the highest concentration of ghosts, no, not a cemetery, bars. Any place where people do any type of drugs. So if people are drinking, there's going to be ghosts and other things there to feed off of that energy. Because when you're drinking, you're easy to get into. And what does a ghost want more than anything? They want to be alive again. So if you know someone who, when they start drinking or when they get drunk, that their total personality changes, there is a possibility that there is somebody else in there, especially if they don't remember what they did. With possessions, a lot of times you will not remember what happened. And then after a while, some of it'll come back, possibly. Why is this? It's because the brain is a physical function and the soul basically is your soul and your consciousness is interacting with the physical brain, like that's their interface. So when the soul is kind of pushed aside, it's no longer fully connected to the brain. So whatever comes in may decide to connect to the brain and may not. They may just connect to your your spinal column and your the rest of your system so that you don't remember what's there. That's one thing that a ghost can do. A lot of ghosts aren't strong enough to push somebody out of their body. In order to be pushed out of your body by something like that, because it's just another person, you either have to allow them in some way, which would be like drinking, doing illicit drugs. Also would be if you are if you go into a room or you go someplace and all of a sudden you feel an overwhelming emotion. So, as I said in the beginning, fear is the biggest emotion that traps a soul on this plane. Another thing is anger or a sense of things being unfair, like frustration. You'll get like a lot of depression, or someone who felt like the only way to feel better would be to not be physical anymore. And then they realize when they're not physical anymore that, oh, I'm still stuck here. And it's worse because really I felt invisible before. Now I am actually invisible. So when you come across these spirits, what happens is if you're walking through them or if they have a big presence, you will feel that emotion. So you might feel overwhelmed with sadness, where you just feel like you want to just cry and you don't know why. Or you'll feel really angry and you don't know why. When you're sensing these emotions, these extraneous emotions, and it's not yours, generally you'll feel it in the middle of your forehead. So, like, basically, when we feel like we're becoming overwhelmed and we're gonna cry because it's our sorrow, it comes up from the lungs and it's in the throat primarily, because this is where we feel our emotions is in the heart and the throat. When it's coming in from outside and it's something trying to communicate with us or trying to like knocking on the door, trying to get in, it'll happen in our third eye, which is like in the forehead. You'll feel like behind your eyes as opposed to coming up from your throat. So when you're feeling that, or you're feeling like a pressure that, excuse me, my my maid is here. My son is making me tea. Um, when you feel that pressure, do not give into it. If you need to say out loud, "No," you'll feel it back away. Sometimes you could just say it in your head, or if you know how to push your energy out, feel your aura in and push it back, and it'll go away. Most of the time, it's not there to fight with you, it's just looking for someplace easy to get into to express itself. How did I learn this, you might ask? How do I know these things? Through experience. My first major experience with a, uh, possession was in 1994, and the way it occurred was that, um, I had friends who knew that I was, into like, I have been doing readings since I was a little kid, and they knew I could do things. Um, that's interesting. So Ghost Girl says she was taken over during an investigation because she does paranormal investigating, and she was thinking thoughts that were not her own. That is definitely, that could be ghost activity, it could also be, like, lower energy activity. So, depending on what it was making you think, it could have been something on the outside that was just accessing your intuition or your, clairaudience or clear sentience, and making you think those things, um, but it's good that you realize that those were not your thoughts. So I had friends who knew that I was into this, and they called me because they had just moved into a dorm room that was part of a converted house. And in that dorm room, certain things occurred. So things like, oh, things like lights turning on while her and the roommate were asleep, the TV turning off and on, or changing stations. It is easiest for ghosts to affect electrical things because we are made of energy. We are all energy. So for that reason, it's easiest for them to get into things. And the thing was, like, I love the old phones because the old phones, it was so easy for them to communicate through them, to make the phone ring, to open up a phone line, to actually manipulate it so that they could converse through it. Now with cell phones, it's a little bit different. I think part of the problem is because with the cell phones, there's just so much radiation, so much energy everywhere. You're picking up from the Wi-Fi, you're picking up from the cell towers, it's affected by, the solar storms and things like that, so it makes it a lot more confusing, but it also gives these types of entities more power from which to draw to do things and affect things. So I'll go back to my story later. Ghost Girl's got some really interesting stuff. So she was saying she was taken over during an investigation and was thinking thoughts that were not her own. She was physically moving to what it was saying. So my question is, did you feel threatened or did you feel like it just wanted attention or did you feel like it was trying to get you to see something? Like what kind of communication did you feel like it was? My my ears are trying to get off. Here we go. Wait a second. I look crazy. It's okay. Are you still here, Ghost Girl? So you were moving to what it was saying. There you go. I didn't know exactly what it was doing. Oh, the comments were very negative. A lot of times they will be, even if it is just a ghost, because they're confused and they don't know what's going on. But it can also be, like I said, a lot of times they're just afraid of what am I doing with my ears? This is there we go. There we go. I did the opposite of what I thought I should do. All right. The ears are nice. Thank you, McDowell. I try. And what's funny is tonight, my mom is dressed up as a black cat also. So we both got dressed up as the same character without knowing it, and we just sent to each other. Okay. Um, so Anasha says, I've had something like that happen to me in a very crowded spaces, like in Target specifically. So that has a lot to do with being an empath. When you're an empath, you will pick up on what other people are feeling, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. The answer for that is to get yourself some peridot or peridot, as some people say. That is the birthstone for August for Leos. It is one of the stones of the sun, and I know I had a piece over here. It doesn't matter how big the piece is, and peridot itself is not if you get, like a little piece of jewelry or whatever, it's not terribly expensive. When you get the bigger pieces of jewelry, they're expensive. And peridot and olivine are the same stone. One is older than the other. So one comes from the mantle, the same as a diamond, and the other is more towards the surface because it is created when the lava hits the ocean entry. So let's see if you could see that. See that? And you see the gold in it. It's beautiful. I love peridot. Well, I love all stones. I mean, I started picking up stones when I was a kid. My mom would get so aggravated with me because no matter where we went, I would end up with a pockets full of rocks and dirt and sand and everything because I would just be constantly, "Oh, this is pretty. This is pretty. This is pretty," and picking it up. So, yes, we're all stone nuts. And McDowell is saying she wears her peridot, especially in public, to create a psychic boundary. Thank you, baby. And that is what it does. So peridot will put a white light shield around you that nothing can penetrate. So there's a couple different ways to use it. The first way is like I have peridot jewelry that when I'm gonna be around people who I know I find draining, I will wear that. Or if I'm going shopping, especially around Christmas time, everybody I can't stand Christmas. I'm just saying it. It is way too secular. There people get crazy, and I don't have any time or desire for it. I love some of the Christmas traditions, but I am not into Santa Claus, and I'm not into running around and seeing who could spend the most money. Not my thing. I am a Halloween girl. That's what I am. Halloween and New Year's, my 2 favorites. So anywho, with the peridot, you can whenever you have any kind of a crystal or a gemstone, what you want to do is you want to bless it. So you clear it, you bless it, you program it. No matter what kind of stone it is. Here's my I have all these with me today right here. And this is actually a scrying bowl. So I do scrying with this, but I also have 2 little scrying bowls, which are fun. I have this one, and this is obsidian, and this, of course, is copper. Both are very good for scrying. Anyhow, so oh, all right, Natasha, we'll talk to that in a second. Happy Samhain, yes. Um, so with the peridot, you want to cleanse it, bless it, and program it. When you program it, peridot can be programmed for a happy marriage or a happy relationship. To either bring it to you or create it in the relationship that you are in if you are already married. You can use it to help lift your spirits. It's a very high vibration stone, or you could use it for protection. So basically, what I do with mine, since it puts a white light shield around you that nothing can penetrate, that means you can't let go of things and you can't pull things in when you're using it. And it effectively makes you invisible to certain lower entities. I use it when I'm going to do like major clearings or to deal with something that's nasty. I will wear peridot until I get to where I need to be. Then I take it off, and it's like all of a sudden I've appeared so that they can't hide because they will hide. So, what I do with my jewelry is often I will have it so that when I do it out for myself, that is for good relationships, good communication, and prosperity. And then when I brush it the other way, it turns on the white light shield. And the reason why you would want to use a white light shield is that it helps you discern what's yours and what's not yours. So if you're out in public and you start feeling overwhelmed with an emotion and you put your peridot on or you put it to shield mode and you're still feeling that way, that's you. It's coming from inside you. There's something going on that you need to attend to. If all of a sudden it's gone, that's not your emotion. You're picking it up from somewhere else so you can basically disregard it. Okay. So let's get back. I know I go off on these huge tangents. If you want me to stay and focus on one thing, just let me know in the chat, especially if you put a super chat, I'm more likely to listen to you. So, Salwin, okay. I don't pronounce anything correctly. Tasha, you will learn that the more you talk to me. I make up names for people and my mouth does what it wants. So I apologize for mispronouncing that, but it's something I am known for, mispronunciation of things. I mispronounce my own names at times. Yes, something that happens. So let's see. Um, and Ghost Girl said that she bought Peridot years ago at a meetup in York where we all used to get together. When I first was writing this book, it was the first time I was going to talk at a specific meetup it was a combination of a ghost hunting kind of a group and metaphysical. So they were in a flux at that time, but we would look at different evidence and things like that. So he asked me to come and speak, and for whatever reason, I kept getting pressed to write this book and that it needed to be done at before I went and spoke. And then I found out why, when I went and I spoke, because at that meeting, it was really interesting, because when I was speaking, a couple things happened. One was that we did get some interference. There was someone in the room whose child was having a major issue, and another practitioner had done a traditional, like sage kind of clearing for them, and it did not work. But they were trying to convince them that it was not demonic. And then while I was up in front of everybody talking and I had somebody filming, because I film everything, it was like the film got fuzzy and things started to happen, and I was like, No, there's definitely activity there." So we ended up talking, and I ended up going and helping those people out. But it was interesting because if I had not written the book, I would not have had, it's almost like a manual of what are you dealing with? Like, how do you ascertain what is a ghost? What is a spirit? What is a poltergeist? What is demonic? What is, there's other things, angels, an angel of God versus a fallen angel and things like that. So all those things, a lot of people don't know how to differentiate, and they just say everything is a spirit. And I guess if you think of a spirit as just an energy being, you could say, maybe. But when we give when we're more specific about what we're talking about, it's easier to deal with things, because if you know what you're dealing with, then you know what to do about it. If you don't know what you're dealing with, then it's a little bit more difficult, because you may think, maybe I should do this or that, and then it turns out to be the wrong thing. For instance, in that particular case, I think the reason for the somewhat disbelief was because the child involved was very young, and it's the youngest I've ever seen. But that didn't make it impossible, because, as my mother always says, you don't know what you don't know. So you need to keep your eyes open and you need to stay aware. And although I've had a lot of experience since then, it doesn't mean I know everything. And I'm coming across new and interesting things fairly frequently, especially now. Since 2012, things have changed a lot, and people feel like, oh, 2012 was this big buildup and nothing actually happened. And that's not really true. If you're not paying attention, you would think nothing happened. However, since 2012, it's like things are gearing up. I mean, there's even scientists who say, like, people say, "Oh, it feels like time is getting faster," and it is. Um, at least the way we judge time is accelerating. So when we look at things and we look at a broader picture, we're like, okay, so what is different? Well, there's a lot more, I'm going to call it ancient energy, that's on the planet right now. It was always kind of here, but it was locked away. It wasn't where it could affect us in any way or affect things. And I feel that since 2012, for whatever reason, things are beginning to turn and shift. There's more different types of energetics in the world. Part of it may be because of all the energy we're putting out into the atmosphere and we're putting out around us with Wi-Fi and cell phones and everything else that's out there. It may be because they said the veil is thinner, which means that our dimensions are, uh, the dimensions used to have more of a frequency shift in between them, and now they're getting closer, and sometimes they even intertwine. That's where the Mandela effect comes from, and shifting timelines and things like that. I forget what movie it was I was watching, and they showed, like, these time travelers were showing, like, the different timelines, and then there were different places where they would intersect or intertwine because it was a place where things matched. So, that brings me to the tree of life. If you know the symbol of the tree of life, let me see if I have it in this deck. And it's also the 10 of coins. If you have a tarot deck, especially a traditional tarot deck, you'll see the 10 of coins is showing the tree of life. Oh, thank you, Spirit. So the tree of life looks like this, and there's different names to each, and one side is severity and the other side is mercy. But basically, if you look at it, it's all these different paths. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. I thought I got excited there for a second as it come on. There we go. Um, if as you're looking at the tree of life, like these are the roots, they're also the tree, but you see all the different lines? They're all different paths. And if you notice, you start here and you end here, there's 21 different ways that you could get there. So it's telling you all roads lead to Rome. So there are going to be times when different timelines will come together, giving you the same outcome or giving you the same experience. And then they may diverge again, or they may run parallel for a while. But at those moments in time are when we might hop a timeline. We might like move over to something different. I think differently than a lot of people, just about things in general. So, for instance, when I learned about the ghost that was inhabiting my friend, and I was, well, like what happens to her? And I had gone to another psychic who supposedly like knew different things, but she kind of gave me the same spiel that I hear from a lot of them. She's like, well, if you committed, if you unalived yourself, as we have to say on YouTube, that 934 years you're going to be in hell or purgatory or whatever. And I'm like, really? That that does not make sense to me. Why? Because you gave up, you didn't have faith, yada, yada, yada. But why, really? And how do you know it's 934 years? Like, where did you get that number from? So I questioned things, not directly to her, but what I did was I went into meditation with my friend who was inhabited by the ghost and other people who were involved. And we asked these questions. I'm like, I need to know what's going to happen because if I cross her over and she's just going to go someplace horrible, then maybe I shouldn't cross her over. Most people don't ask those questions. I don't know why. They just want to get rid of things so that they don't see it anymore. It's like sweeping things under the rug. I don't believe in doing that. I want to know what's happening. I want to know where you're going. I want to know what is happening to you. I want to know that I'm putting you someplace better as opposed to someplace worse. So that's what we did. So we did this meditation. We're all together. And I asked the question, I'm like, Spirit, please tell us if Mary goes into the light, if she crosses over, what is on the other side for her? What is expecting her? And what's interesting is the rest of us in the circle didn't see anything, but my friend and Mary the ghost, they got the answer. And their answer was to see the face of Jesus and then that aging into what you would think of as the face of God. And it brought a lot of peace because it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to heaven basically. Mary didn't buy it though, so she still was not keen on crossing over. So it was a process, but it was interesting to me that we got that answer because I would not have crossed her over otherwise. So what is crossing over? It's opening up a portal so she can go where she's meant to be. And where that is rejoining with source, being with God, being in heaven, however you want to look at it, that's what that is. Everybody goes there. Everybody gets that. So, with one caveat. So, there are souls who don't exactly rejoin with source because they have made agreements with demonics and things like that in order to be powerful in a lifetime or certain lifetimes. And then um, they're very intertwined with that. So they never quite get to the levels where they really need to be unless somebody extricates them from that, which is not easy if someone has done that for lifetimes and has like those really heavy duty agreements. So Carol says, I like books about people who are hypnotized to remember past lives and between life states. Yeah, that's awesome. Most of them don't hang around here too much and spend a number of years on the other side, 20 to 50. Then they get the news. You're going back. No, no, I'm happy here. We've got a little baby about to be born, body for you. It's your time. Which brings us to another question. Like, when does the soul attach to the body? Well, that's interesting because basically, from my experience, what I see is that a child picks their parents. Like they have certain things that they want to experience, and they might be part of the same soul group that like tumbles across time with each other. And I believe that the older the soul is, the more often that you come back, the bigger your soul group gets. So things like, I know that my father was my father in the early 1900s when he was in World War One. I remember that lifetime with him. I know that my mother was my baby sister. I don't know what year it was, but we were in um, Eastern Europe, and I remember that lifetime. I know what ghosts are and what they feel because I was a ghost, and I have memory of that. I unalived myself, using a firearm and was like, "Oh, no. What am I gonna do now? Because 'Cause I'm still alive," but I wasn't really still alive, and, thank God for my child, who is my child in this lifetime also, because, um, they saved me. They pulled me through the portal because the portal opens for you at the time of death or shortly thereafter. And if you don't go, then you're stuck. And that portal is not just you can't open it and people on the other side can't open it. You need somebody on this side who is going to open it. Or you happen to be around when it opens for somebody else. Kind of like Dead Like Me. That was a good series. All right, let's get back here. Okay. I remember a woman who, yes, I couldn't remove the spirit because it would have killed her. Yes. Um McDowell, you might not be sent back to Earth, but you might be sent back to another planet. You never know. You could say, no more 3D for me. I'm 5D and above. So, Ghost Girl is talking about I had this person that I was trying to do an exorcism for, but she was so entwined with these demonics, and there were several of them. I think there were 7, if I remember correctly. That when I went in and I'm peeling them off, there was so little of her soul left that it would not be able to support her human body. She didn't have enough energy. So at that point, even though the demonics were still on her and using her physical body, her soul didn't have enough energy to uh, animate her physical body, and she would have died. So I had to abandon doing that. Um, and just tell her that, she needed to make a plan that as she exited this lifetime, that that would be the end of their agreement. And we could do something like that, but I could not remove them without killing her, basically. Um, okay, let's see. Um, Carol says, under hypnosis, I saw my sister as my daughter in 1860s New York City, but I accidentally killed self being risky, and she felt I ruined her life. Wow. Yeah, that's harsh. So what is your relationship with your sister? Oh, okay. In this life, she's always telling stories about how I ruined her life. Compared to our alcoholic father. Come on. Maybe she's referring back to that life. Absolutely. Absolutely. She is so like we'll come into this lifetime if we didn't resolve things, we'll come into a new lifetime with our soul group and then we still have these things to work out. And the thing is, if we don't recognize that they need to be worked out, it just keeps being exacerbated lifetime after lifetime. Do you ever have experiences with extraterrestrials? Yes. Yes, I do. I was a member of MUFON for a long time, and I belonged to a group called ETSIG, which was ET, abductee, and contactee support group. I was like the resident psychic, and I have had several experiences both under hypnosis and when I'm in meditation. I have a memory of coming to Earth to seed the planet. And there were already humanoids here, but they were not very, I don't know, evolved. So we came to seed the planet so that we came in couples and pairs. I forget how many of us there were, and we were supposed to come and have children and populate the earth. And I died before I could have any children, and I still am experiencing those losses. So I'm not I have to figure out how to resolve that in my lifetime because I feel like I'm a failure because I never have a lineage. And it seems to be like every lifetime something happens so that I don't have a lineage, even this one. So it's interesting, but I gotta figure that out. The other way I've had experiences with extraterrestrials is I do feel like I've had direct contact or communication, and I've also had clients who had a lot of evidence of contact and communication, so that's interesting. Um, Maybe I'll start talking to her again. She lives 5 miles away, and I was fed up with blaming and refused to talk for the last year. It's probably very healthy for you not to talk to her, and maybe what you need to do is talk to her higher self before you connect with her directly. And you may want to do that where you're asking her higher self to try to communicate with you in a sense of forgiveness. Um, so, I mean, I understand that. I recently had hypnosis sessions and I've been visited and taken by light beings since I was a child. Yes. And I believe a lot of times that that is something that happens throughout a lineage. There was what was the name of that film? It was Steven Spielberg, and he was showing I don't know whether I don't think he actually directed it, but it was about the aliens. I think it started off at Roswell, and it showed you how they paired people together, like, they would abduct a male and a female, and then all of a sudden the female was pregnant, and how it they evolved a specific child to have specific abilities so that she could communicate with them. It was really fascinating. I thought that was good. Wow, ET, that's why I sleep with curtains, etcetera, every night. Well, when I was a kid, um, I used to have these experiences where I would have these dreams, and I don't know if everybody remembers Bewitched, but for some reason it was Bewitched. Her mom was the villain, and I would be on this table, on a cold table, surrounded by beings, but Bewitch's mom was like she was the head of them, and I just knew that she was here to do bad things and to ruin the world and different things like that, but I couldn't move, I'm on this table, and then when I would finally wake up, I would have a very high fever and I would be sick. But every time I had that dream, I woke up with a high fever that lasted about 24 hours, and I'd be sick for about 24 hours. It was wild. So, I think something was happening there to me, but who knows? So, Carol, Geralyn helped me learn how to close portals like you are describing. Yes. And closing portals that are around you that don't need to be open. So, one of the things that I see a lot of people doing is they will they create things or they play with things. They think they're casting spells and doing this, that, and the other thing, but they don't finish it. So, for instance, the first thing that I was taught about was thought forms. So, what is a thought form? A thought form is something that you create in order to do something specific. So, you might create a thought form to heal somebody, or you might create a thought form to protect someone, or you might create a thought form to drive somebody crazy. They could, energy is neutral. You program it one way or the other, and then it becomes whatever it's going to become. But when you're doing these things, and you're creating something that has a little bit of consciousness because it has a job to do, you need to put an expiration date on it or an expiration on it. So once you're done this, then you need to go back into your original form. Things like that. So people like, I mean, I teach about energy, so we'll make energy balls and we'll pass them around, but I make sure that we get rid of the energy balls when we're done, because if you don't, then there's energy balls hanging around and it's something that's half formed. And as it hangs around, it can grow consciousness. And then once it does that, it can be very mischievous and just do things. So you want to make sure that you get rid of things like that. You don't just leave things. And Dora, right? That was her name. And Dora, I can never remember her name. I'd love to have hypnosis sessions someday. I would love to find out about my past lives and get more insight on them because I know I've had a lot. You don't necessarily have to go through hypnosis. So I was starting to remember my past lives. A friend of mine offered to do hypnosis. I was under hypnosis for 8 hours. And that's when I remembered coming to Earth and that kind of thing. I also lit a 45-watt bulb with my bare hand while I was under hypnosis. And I had problems staying on the ground because my energy was just, like, all over the place. My poor friend lost her voice, and all kinds of things happened. So, small doses are good. A lot of times what I do is I will if I have something that's bothering me, like, I used to be so cold all the time, but, like, cold to the point that if I went out to dinner and we walked outside and it was cold, I would get physically sick. Crazy, right? So I asked Gabe, he's my primary guy. I'm like, "Okay, why is this happening to me? Please tell me why. Like, what do I need to do to clear this up? Why is this happening?" And I was shown a lifetime where I was a little boy in it looked like England, cobblestone streets, ice cold water in the gutter, and there's horses coming by and carriages and whatnot. And I froze to death in the gutter, and people just would step over me. And that trauma was still with me. But once I recognized what that was, I wasn't as cold anymore, and I did not get sick again from the cold. So that was kind of cool. All right. Ba, 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 ba. Your dream about her may have been more insightful than you know. Maybe, um, if you want to call it a dream. I don't know what that was, but it was every time I got sick. Every single time when I was a kid. People are creating Tulsas, which are thought forms at public haunted locations by what they think is there. Oh, yeah, I believe that. I believe that. And they're feeding. If there is any energy there that's questionable, they are feeding that and making it stronger, especially if they're afraid. So, negative entities that we call demons or demonics, they feed on fear and negative emotion. So, and I have a video about this, about the 7 deadly sins. So, the 7 deadly sins are the greatest of the demonics. That is what they feed on. They feed on envy. They feed on fear. They feed on anger, avarice. They feed on pride, but it's like not pride that you're proud you did something good, but pride as in a narcissist's pride and things like that. So I go over the 7 deadly sins and how all that relates. I am going to do a video on demonic specifically if you guys want it. I have notes to write a book on it, and I just have never finished. Okay, I was already good at self-hypnosis and did it myself. There are some reincarnation or hypnosis books that might tell you how to do it or instructions online. Sorry, tulpas. Whoa, very interesting. Okay, so there are different ways to figure out your past lives. You can do self-hypnosis and things like that. So the only caveat that I would say it's good to do with a practitioner that you trust because things may come up that are very traumatic and that can affect you in ways that you don't want to be affected, that could be very harmful. So you do need to be careful with that. I had one memory, and this was the lifetime where I unalived myself, as they say. What had happened in that lifetime, like, I remember being so sad and upset that my child had died. She was, like, 14 years old, and I knew that it was sudden, but I didn't have full recollection of, like, how she died or why. I would just was like, I could not recover from her death, and my child now was my child then, my younger child, and she was only, like, 4 or 5, I think, when her older sister died, and I didn't have full recollection of that. The way I got that far with it was that, I was seeing someone and I was like, "How do I know this person? Like, why are we connected? Why are we, um, like, around each other? Like, what do we have to resolve?" And the thing was, I think Spirit was trying to warn me because he turned out to be really interesting. But I what I got was that where I and the back of my head blew out the window that was behind me and was up and was like one of those, octagonal windows, and I remember very vividly watching the bed come towards my face as my head was going down and thinking, "Oh, no, I'm still alive," and I hit the bed, and then I raised my head up, and I heard women screaming, and I went like this, and, like, it was gone. And I was like, "Uh-oh, what are we gonna do? Like, the doctor's not here. I hope I'm not hurt too bad. I just made a mess. Look at the window. I broke the window. There's blood everywhere." And the women come running in, and I remember having my hand over one of the women's hands trying to scrub. I'm like, "We gotta get this cleaned up before my husband gets home." My husband gets home, my little one is downstairs, and he is so angry at me. He was angry at me for not being able to get over the death of my older child, and now he was even more angry at me because of what I did, and I'm coming down the steps, and he's telling my little one that she's not gonna see me anymore, and she's like, "What are you talking about? She's right there." But I could just like, I could see his anger in waves hitting me, like, it was painful, it was hitting me. So I went to the kitchen, and all the women are around the kitchen, everybody's running around because this horrible tragedy just happened, and it was exactly 1 year from the death of my daughter, and I think she was murdered on her birthday. And I'm in the kitchen, and there's a door like like where the top opens or you can open both of them kinda thing. It was like that kind of a barn door kinda thing. And we're in the kitchen, and I hear this banging on the door, and I go to open it, but I just opened the one half of it, and there's a man standing there in what looked like it's the gray uniform from the Civil War, but he was caked in ice. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "No, I'm cold. Can I have something to drink?" And I was like, "Sure, come in." And I'm looking at him, I'm like, "It's July. This man is frozen. I think we're both dead." And that's how I realized I was a ghost. So, that was interesting, and I followed my child throughout that lifetime. I was around her. I followed her everywhere, poor kid. But when she passed, when she was an old woman and she passed, she grabbed me and pulled me through the portal, and that's how I had the opportunity to reincarnate again. So, which is one of the most helpful aspects of knowing past lives, understanding why we continue to reincarnate with the same people, what still needs to be resolved so we can move on. Oh, a Dutch store. Thank you, Natasha. You're like a font of information. So, I would say one of the most helpful aspects is that you get to clear things up so they don't affect you physically any longer in this lifetime and then as you move forward. So, as you clear things up, you clear them up not just for yourself, but it goes backwards and forwards in time. So, it helps all along the line because it's an energetic thread that you're pulling. Um, and I would say that for me, it it let me know a lot of things. It gives me a lot of hints. So what I should have recognized, and I would in the future, is that the person I was with who was so angry at me for mourning the loss of our child, um, he was like that through our whole relationship. He was always angry at me and wanted to prove to me why, I was not special, and would say and do things that were just like I didn't understand, but we were together for like 6.5 years. And when he left, he had been cheating on me for a while, and he was with this woman who tried to steal my identity and was just like, whoa, like Cracker Jack. So it was a very interesting time. And I put up with a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have. And I just kind of, because I was comfortable with where we were living and the way things were, because we weren't really interacting that much, I kinda just settled in and was like, "Okay, this is giving my child a good stable environment." Um, I wouldn't be able to live here otherwise, and I just put up with a lot of stuff that I should not have put up with. Um, a lot of lying and deception. So, let's see, excellent question. I've been having a crazy thing with this young guy for 2.5 years, and maybe it is past life related. It probably is, Carol. I would ask as I was going to bed tonight, I would just kinda meditate a little bit and ask that you be shown and ask that you remember what you're being shown, and you'll probably see whatever's happening. Um, it could be that in the past you've had a relationship that didn't get to come to its fruition because of circumstances beyond your control, as in one of you passed. And I think that was you, but try to do that. And yes, Angry Dude was very abusive. Um, it was more like, mentally and emotionally. I mean, I would never let anybody hit me. I've never had a guy who was brave enough to do more than go like this and then sheepishly put his arm down, but, he definitely was trying to be mean, you know? Selfish Self-hypnosis may show quick flashes, but with a skilled person, you can get more. That's true. I saw both my deaths, but wasn't too upset, though one definitely related to life then and today. Okay. Yeah, like, people talk about, I've heard people say that when you do past life regression, a lot of times you don't remember your death, and you may not remember specific aspects of your death, but I can tell you at least 16 different ways that I have died. Yes, I find that fascinating. Uh, it's just, some of it can be really gory, and I feel like that's one of the ways that I know that the soul pops out of the body. Like, if you're dying a really traumatic death, a lot of times you don't feel the pain of those last moments. So, I remember a couple times where very traumatic, but at the moment of death, I'd say a couple minutes before, usually, my soul is, like, separated enough from the body that I'm not feeling this anymore. So it's more like you're observing your death, and you can talk through your body like a puppet sometimes, but you're not feeling everything going on there. So I find that to be useful. Okay, and Carol says, "Thanks, Geralyn. I felt many times he was supposed to be with, but died in Vietnam and didn't come back till the 90s." Yes, the age thing has been our big issue. Understandable. Natasha, I have a couple of people I'm curious about past lives with too, one of whom I've already told you about, but I think I may try asking before bed thing. Yes, I find I'm one of those people who's like, you give a man a fish and he eats for the day. You teach a man to fish and he eats his whole life, which is probably why I don't make as much money as I should because I like to teach people how to really have faith in their intuition and have faith in spirit. I call God spirit, and things like that, so that they can protect themselves and they can do what they need to do as they move forward. Carol, I almost got hit by a car in California, and just before it would have struck, the soul popped right out, but body pulled itself back anyway. Well, that's good. That's a good thing. I'm grateful for that, by the way. You helped me a lot. Thank you, Natasha. So let's see. You can tell I just don't ever I'm gonna say I don't like to stay too much on a specific bent because spirit will bring to me or will tell me whatever it is that we need to talk about, what I need to say. So, although we started out with what is a ghost, we've gone into this whole thing on past lives. We talked about UFOs and aliens. We talked a little bit about demonics. And I love having these conversations with you guys. This is awesome. It really feeds my soul. And I would like for you guys to definitely send me different suggestions or even put it under my other videos, different things you'd like to talk about, different things you'd like to see when we're doing this. And anybody who has questions, I have to say this is a great book. It's not real big, it's not real long, but there it is chock full of information. And one of the things I do with some of my books is I will add, like, Bible quotes and things to that nature, but the way I do it is put in such a way so that you if you don't like to read that kind of thing, you don't have to. So, like, for instance, like, I don't know if you can see this. On here, when you get to this part is when we start the Bible quote. But because of the way it's indented, you could just skip it if you don't wanna read it. I put the Bible quotes in because more often than not, I am questioned about what my faith is. Do I believe in God? Do I believe in Jesus? Like, what do I practice a certain religion and things like that? So The answer to that is I was raised Roman Catholic. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I believe in Mary. I believe in St. Joseph. That's my last name. And St. Joseph is the terror of demons, which I did not know until this year. I found that fascinating. And I don't feel like you have to practice a certain religion to have faith. I think faith is separate from religious practices. Religious practices can help, and I love the rituals that come with, like Catholicism and different things like that. I love the music when it's played upbeat the way it's supposed to instead of like a funeral dirge. I love, my for whatever reason, my favorite when I would be in church is they have these little bells, and they sound like this bell because it's made of the brass or whatever, and there was a time when they stopped using the bells, and I'm like, "No, you gotta have the bells," you know? The bells are like, it calls in the angels, it changes the vibration, it's, like, so cool. And I realized that a lot of what the churches did in their ritual comes from other aspects of, um, different types of faith. So they're doing candle magic. I hear bells keep demons away. That must be why I love bells so much. I love, love, love bells. I drive my kid crazy with them. I have a bracelet of bells. I have earrings that are bells, and I do like this all the time. Drives him nuts. But I believe that bells, well, because they're a higher vibration, they're like something that comes from the angels. Because it comes from the angels, it's got that high vibration. It changes the vibration of everything around it. So I believe that, Ghost Girl. I definitely do. Um, so I love bells. I have this bell, which is my absolute favorite because it does sound like the bell from church. Where's my other one? And I have this one over here, which is my crystal bell. And then of course I have my bowl. I love that. Very nice. Very nice. It's just I find it so soothing. I know a lot of people don't, but I find it very soothing. It's still going. And there we go. Thank you. So, yes, and there are different sounds that are very good, like the ohm. The bowl has a prettiest tone. Thank you. I have 3 different ones, but I think this one is my favorite because I was supposed to sell them. I want them to sell, and I still have them. Um, can they keep our inner demons away? To a certain extent, yes. It depends on how much you are inviting them in. So, a lot of times, what we call our inner demons is when we're getting um, intrusive thoughts, we're feeling compulsions and things like that. And that's generally what people are referring to as their inner demons. And that could actually be a small demonic that's on top of you trying to get you to do things because they want to feel that sensation. Um, am I going to pull any cards? Sure, I could pull cards. Let's. I made a mess over here. I got to move some things. Some things. And I'm very shocked that the cat's not over here. I shouldn't say anything because then it's gonna change. And then I'm gonna have to shoo her away. I have a black cat who, oh, very cute. I have a black cat who her name is Gabagool. At least Lance calls her Gabagool. I call her Gabby because she talks all the time. She's very sassy. Very sassy. Okay. So, do you guys just want me to pull something general to start with, and then we'll go into things? Or I'm going to put my regular deck away. I love these, but I use these primarily for my clients professionally. And let's see. All right. So my friend Terry is a card fanatic. So she's got all these different tarot cards. She's got all these different oracle cards. She's got crazy how much stuff she has. You know what? All right, we'll do the cards. And then I think one day next week, we should do a crystal ball reading. Who thinks we should do a crystal ball reading? Natasha, I have 3 tarot decks and 2 oracle decks. Yes, that's good. I have a whole big thing of tarot and oracle decks. And the thing is, once you learn how to read effectively, you don't really you're not memorizing anything. You're using your intuition. So when people ask me like, "Well, how do you read?" Well, you're reading the energy of the person and you're following that energy where it's going. So people can change things in their future. Not everything is changeable, but most things are changeable. Most things you can change. So don't feel like just because you got a reading and somebody told you something like this, that, and the other thing is going to happen, that it's necessarily going to happen. You have to continue to move your energetic in the same way in order to make it happen. So, what happens is that, like, there was a gentleman, he got a reading, he was an actor. And the reading was that he was gonna become this famous actor, it was gonna be amazing, he was gonna be, like, up there with Tom Cruise, la, 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 la. He stopped going to, like, acting classes and stuff because he thought it was, like, in the bag kind of a thing. As soon as he stopped doing that, he changed his future because now he took away the method through which he was going to become great at his craft. So when you get a reading, it doesn't necessarily mean that that is absolutely gonna happen, which is why most readers are 70% accurate. Like, you're considered psychic at about 60% accuracy. A regular person will get 30 to 35% of things correct. You're really good if you're over 70. But the thing is that what we tell you is the way things are going to be if you continue down the road you're going right now. So a lot of times when I am doing readings for people, I will go through, okay, if we take this path, this is where you're going to go. If you take this path, this is where it's going to go. You have a choice. And I've had a lot of clients, especially when I was younger, when I first started, and when I was younger, a lot of clients were telling me, "You're the first person who ever told me that I have a choice." I thought it was, everything was written, and I'm like, certain things are. Certain things are written. Certain things you have agreed to experience, but not everything. So, okay. All right. Now we got so we have the Jack-o'-lantern tarot. We have the Witch's Familiars oracle cards. We have the Everyday Witch. And we have the Halloween Oracle. I don't know whether I finished saying my friend Terry, who loves all these cards, um, she set me up with the Halloween ones, and these are lances. So I don't think I'm going to pull any of my other ones. 4 is plenty. So does anybody have a which one do you guys want me to do first? So we have Jack-o'-lantern, Witches Familiars, Everyday Witch, Halloween. So you could say Witches Familiar. All right, we got it. Do the rest of you have a vote? Or you just want to do the witches? Halloween? Okay. All right. All right. So we'll start with those two. Start with witches familiars. This is a really pretty deck. One of the great things about these different decks is the artistry of them and the amazing artwork that goes into them. So most decks come with a little book, and I don't usually read the book unless I'm reading for myself, and then because then you have skin in the game and you may want certain things to come out, so you may kind of slant it in a way. All right. Jackos, huh, Carol? All right, I'll do that one third. All right, here we go. So I don't like this. That's the back of the card. That is the one thing I do not like about this deck because it's ew. It's just creepy looking, which might be the point. I don't know, but it's just like, ugh, that is not, ugh. But we're not reading that part, right? We're going this way. Yuck. Exactly, Tammy. Yes. What is it that we most need to know right now? What will help us? Interesting. So the first card, wait a second. Amuse yourselves for a moment. I just remembered something that I used last time that worked really well. Hold on. Hi, baby. Oh, did you see my little tail? Woo! Oh no, I look crazy. Okay, hold on. I don't know how these keep getting moved. Probably from me moving my head all over the place. There we go. I make life so difficult when it doesn't need to be. All right, now. I wonder if this will work. Not high enough. So this way you can look at the card while I'm talking about it. Ta-da! Okay. So the first card is the rat. And people may think, ooh, the rat. But rats are very adaptable. They're very intelligent. And they figure out how to survive no matter what the situation is. So the rat being your familiar or being your totem or your animal would show that you have um, a unique sense of adaptability, that you can get into spaces and do things that most people would not expect you to be able to do. So when we ask spirit, what is it that we most need to know right now? Spirit is saying we have to be adaptable. We have to be ready to pivot on a moment's notice. We have to be willing to change when we need to change. Because unfortunately, that is something that a lot of people fail to do. And a lack of adaptability can create disease. One and the rat and then the disease, that's very interesting to me. So when we look at these, and I'm looking a little bit deeper now, what this is showing is that, like with the rat, they are somewhere in a structured place, but probably someplace where they can hide and they're not necessarily supposed to be. Then we look at the disease card, and the disease card is showing you that it's dis-ease. So it's not necessarily illness. It is not feeling comfortable in our own bodies. It is a sense of being off balance. So what spirit is telling us is that if we practice adaptability, that we then will be able to deal with the dis-ease that we feel in our body and be able to move through it and create emergence. So that's the dragon. So what that shows us is that by utilizing our inner natures and recognizing when our body isn't feeling right, when we're a little off kilter, or when we're not feeling right emotionally, that we need to address that lack of ease with adaptability. One of the things I feel like we're supposed to be learning right now is how to talk to our physical bodies. We know how to talk to our emotional bodies. We know how to talk mentally to ourselves. And some people don't have an inner voice. I find that interesting. But we seldom are so in touch with our physical bodies that we know exactly what's going on. And when things are happening in our physical body, it's because we're being asked asked to recognize something or see something. So, like I've been dealing with a lot of issues in my hips. And your hips are about moving forward. They're about your steadiness. I've been having financial issues, and most people that would come off as lower back, for me it comes off as hips because I'm feeling like I can't move forward. I want to move forward, but I can't move forward because of certain conditions that are around me right now. So, if I talk to my hips, I'm like, "Okay, guys, I know we're feeling like we can't move forward, but we need to overcome this. What part of my adaptability can I utilize in order to emerge as something fresh, new, and different so that I can do what needs to be done in order to move forward?" That is what we need to know right now. The biggest thing there is to pay attention when we do not feel ease in our physical bodies, in ourselves, and to talk to ourselves like we were our own best friend and allow us to move forward and change. Be adaptable. Do what needs done. Don't feel like just because something has been done a certain way to begin with doesn't mean it always has to be done that way. So be aware of that. All right. So that was witches familiars. I like that. What was second? Second was the Halloween Oracle. Now I mean, look at that artwork. That is so pretty. Lifting the veil between the worlds every night, not just Halloween. So, okay. And this is by Blue Angel. Or it said Blue Angel, I think. Stacy DeMarco. Okay. And look, that's a cute back. That is cute. Not like that other one is. Ugh. Can you tell I don't like the back on the other one? And the rest of the artwork on that one is so pretty. I mean, it's amazing, but that back, ugh, I don't know. I think if we had seen that back, we may not have bought that one. I don't know. It is my son's, but he's much into artwork because he is an artist. He's an amazing, amazing artist. He just taught himself how to sew. I got to brag a little bit. We are from a line of tailors, and my grandmother was a professional seamstress. So the fact that he picked it up like that was like amazing. So it's bats. Yes, it's bats. All right. All right, Spirit. From the Snorkel. Can you tell us what we most need to know? How should we handle, or what do we need to know about the coming week or weeks? Anybody who's in the US knows what's happening. So, all right. Oh, oh no, no. Okay. Oh, that's good. So this came out good. Why I laughed was the first one was a ghost, which we were talking about all night. So this is about regret. And basically, what that's telling us is that we need to be aware of what we're looking for or what we're hoping for so that we do not regret things. We want to recognize that the way forward is through. So regardless of what happens on Tuesday through January, we need to be happy and look for the positives in whatever it is that is going to happen moving forward and embrace more of a sensation of coming together and growth. Okay. So the second is graveyard, which is unnecessary fear. So we have regret and then we have unnecessary fear. So just like what happened several years ago when things started to change, like some people don't like it, other people do like it. We need to look at the whole picture. So, does this serve the greatest good? Is this going to help us move forward? Regardless of what happens, we are in charge of the way we react. We are in charge of our little space, our little community. And we need to recognize that there's no reason to fear because we can move forward and change things and become greater and stronger regardless of what happens on the bigger stage. Because energetically, we're in a space where things are really shifting and where we need to stop feeding the fear and move forward in confidence and in faith to be able to change things for the better. And this is such great news. So we have the cauldron. All right. And that is synergy and healing. And what that tells me is like things coming together. Now, some people may see the pentagram in the back and think that, whoa, that's bad. No, the pentagram is a sign of it's the five elements, it's in the circle, so it's contained, it's part of the earth, it's being grounded. And if you remember, like a sheriff has the five-pointed star, and that's a pentagram. And the pentagram is to depict being human, a human person. And it is the four elements, and then the fifth is your consciousness. So, and a cauldron is something with which we cook things up. So it's like baking a cake. You got to break a couple eggs to bake a cake, but we're putting all these diverse ingredients together and we're making something unique and something beautiful. So basically, what Spirit is telling us is live without regret, stop feeding the fear, and be ready to move forward and heal. Okay. So that was pretty good. I'm glad. That makes me feel better. I already voted, so don't even ask me. Isn't the pentacle the upright star in the circle? Yes. The pentagram is the five-pointed star in reverse without a circle. Well, I have never been told that the pentagram and the pentacle are 2 different things. I voted a week ago, but I'm glad you voted today. Um, so I don't know. I would have to look that up, but it's a 5-pointed star. And when it's in the circle, it's more powerful. So, and whether it's a pentagram, see, it's the reversed. When it's reversed is when it's about energy, our physical energy going down. When it's up, when the pointed star, the top is up, that's when we're into our consciousness and higher consciousness. So that's the difference. So this is amazing. Thank you, Carol. Here we go. Here we go. All right. We got the jack-o'-lantern tarot. Ooh, what is that? I don't think that. Ooh. All right. This must be one of the. For news and information, follow Lo Scarabeo Tarot on Instagram. Look at that artwork. Isn't that beautiful? Yes. Okay. And this is the jack-o'-lantern tarot. And this is the back. Ooh. I don't know if you guys could see this better than I think you can. To me, it looks like it's almost washed out. But that is a jack-o'-lantern with 2 owls. Isn't that nice? And with the bat up top, that is so cool looking. All right. So when we do tarot, when we're looking at tarot or tarot, however you want to say it, what we're doing is when a card comes out, like I know a lot of people think, oh, well, that card means X, Y, and Z. But what you're doing is you're looking at the detail in the card and you see where your eye falls, and where your eye falls, that's what tells you the story. And that's what you're supposed to pay attention to. So when you don't do that, when you get into your left brain and you're trying to remember what it means, you're not doing a reading anymore. Then you're not doing a reading. So, oh, thank you, Carol. It's quite clear. Good. Good to know. Good to know. All right. Now, you'll notice sometimes I close my eyes when I'm talking. It's because I have a brain injury, and you have so much information coming in through your eyes that in order for me to focus on what I'm saying and really enunciate properly, sometimes I need to close my eyes. So I just like to let people know that so that they don't think, are you falling asleep? What is happening? Yeah, it's just me focusing. Right. And I will do that when I talk to people face to face sometimes too. So don't be offended. All right. Ah, you do that too, but it's ADHD. Yes. Similar symptoms. Similar. All right. It's too much stuff coming in. All right. All right, Spirit. What do we most need to know right now? Okay. 1. Interesting. 2. Oh, wow. Oh, my. Did I not shuffle this well? I don't know. We got to accept what came out, but this is very interesting. So, in the tarot, there are 4 suits, basically, just like your regular playing cards. So, the 4 suits represent the 4 elements of nature. So, you have fire, water, air, and earth. Wands are fire. Cups, obviously, are water. Pentacles are earth. And swords are air. And what does air mean? Air means it's about your mental capabilities. And when we talk about swords, we look for what I teach my students to do is look for the point. So sometimes you're stressed out crazy, which is swords are usually stress or something. People associate them negatively with things, but it doesn't necessarily mean things that are negative. But look for the point. If there's no point, then there's no point to the stress that you need to recognize that you're creating your own stress. That's generally the point if there's no point. So, and the reason why I say this is because all three of the cards that I pulled are swords. So that's not usual, but I think it's indicative of how so very many people right now are so stressed. So the last reading we got said that, we're fearful and that's really not necessary. Then we get these and we have a bunch of swords. Some of them have points, some of them don't. So let's look and see what we got. So here we have two of swords. Let's put it in front of my face. Oh, come on. There you go. So two of swords. So what I see there and what I get from that, number one, we're about to have a new moon. So that's interesting that it is the moon partially darkened, although that looks like it is after the new moon. Um, Basically, that's when you want to call things into yourself. Now, her swords have points, but the way she's holding them, she's kind of resting them on her shoulders. So she is, I keep getting that card every reading of late. Well, that's about balance. And it's about like finding the strength to do what you need to do in order to do what you need to do. I'm very redundant tonight. I'm sorry. But it is showing in that card specifically that she is rather uncomfortable, or it looks like she's uncomfortable to me. But that if you look behind her, there's other stuff happening. So you see the waves behind her. They seem to be white capped waves. You see all these birds or bats, and you see that she's kind of got her head hung low, like she's tired. And I feel like that's where a lot of people are right now. A lot of that is because of just everything happening worldwide. Our world is at war right now. Here in America, it's not specifically here, but we are involved in it. It's a small world. The earth is not that big. So when there are people that are suffering anywhere, people who are sensitive, we could feel it. And it adds to the heaviness that we're feeling right now. Besides that, like I said in the beginning, human resonance is changing. That affects us emotionally. It affects our health. We have solar flares. We have cosmic rays. We have all kinds of things happening around us that affects within us and affects our energetic bodies, our emotional bodies. It affects the way we think. We are made of energy. We are electrical systems and we are bound in flesh and we do interact with the world. So one of the things that we need to do is to ground and remember that Mother Earth is here for us. And the more we ground, the more we will vibrate with the new Schumann resonance so that it's not like we're at a 10 and it's at an 8 or a 7 or it's at a 12 and we're at a 6 and it's just not working. That is not the way we want to be. We need to allow ourselves again to adapt to what's happening and allow ourselves to move forward and be open to see the way forward. Second card is the King of Swords. Look at that dude. You would think at some point I would just know which direction to go in, but that's probably never gonna happen. So look at the King of Swords. That is kinda cool. Look at him over there. Look at that big moth at the top of his hat, and you have all the crows around him. You have what looks like a little pixie or something back here dancing. So he's so fancy. I love it. Yeah, he is. Look at him. He's just like, "I'm so fancy." You can see he now, when we look at the 2, she's struggling. She can't see what's going on. It's too heavy for her. She's starting to break down. She's trying to get comfortable, but really can't. There's all this turmoil happening behind her. With him, he's sitting comfortably. His hands look pretty comfortable. He's just kinda like, holding his sword, very comfortably holding it, and he's a person of authority. You see there are things happening behind him, but he is not necessarily concerned with that because he's taking care of everything. Um, and he's showing that he has a sense of fortitude and power. Now, if you see his sword also has a point, and that's showing us that there is an authority that we can 2 ways to look at it. One is that the authority is within us and that we need to be able to rely on our inner authority, which should be connected to an outer authority, which is spirit, um, Jesus, God, the Holy Spirit, Allah, however you want to, whatever faith you stand by, whatever it is that you call it. But it's about having that connection with source and having that connection with the all that is. And having that connection, we also are connected to Gaia. We're also connected to the earth because we are children of the earth. We are earthlings. So it's about like really holding on to our sovereignty there. Then we have the 8 of Swords. Gonna show her to everybody. Come on. There we go. The 8 of Swords. Check that out. Look at that. What I find really interesting is that 2 of the 3 cards have a woman who is not seeing in front of her face. She's blindfolded. In both of those cards, she's blindfolded. The man is not blindfolded. What is that telling us? It might not be telling us anything. It might tell us that maybe the feminine needs to be more aware of what's happening around her. Or maybe we need to allow our feminine more expression instead of giving all the authority to the masculine. And that's not necessarily like a man masculine, but we all have feminine and masculine energy within us. And there is a balance of that. Some people are like 70% feminine and 30% masculine. Some people are 50-50. Some people are 80-20. So it's just about being aware of the balance there between your masculine and your feminine and not allowing your natural balance to be upset by things around you or by others. Because I mean, there are times when, especially being a female, being a woman, we need to present a more masculine energy, but or at least we think that, like when we're in business and things like that. But the truth is that the feminine is just as powerful as the masculine, if not more so, because we are the mothers, we're the creators. The feminine is the creative force, it's the artist, it's the mother. It's mama bear. I mean, when you get a mother angry and she is in defense of her young or her family, she is every bit as fierce as the father is, maybe in a different way. However, it is just as powerful. So, owning our own power is part of it and not feeling like we have to change who we are in order to really express our power. And power is not a dirty word, it's not a bad word. We all are powerful beings. When power is sullied is when it is abused, when it's used for abusive purposes. But your power can be used in leadership. Your power can be used to build bridges. Your power can be used for a lot of good things. So power is not the problem. Power, like energy, is neutral. It's what we do with it that makes it seem negative or positive, depending on which side of it you're on. So what else? I'm getting feminine. I'm getting feminine is more in touch with spirit because of our ability to tap into our intuition. Yes, and part of that is the creation, is having a womb. So actually having a womb is part of our creative energy. And when we talk about, like, if you were studying becoming a shaman, part of what they do is you learn how to become a container for energy. And for women, that container, a very powerful container, is the womb. So when we balance the masculine and the feminine, it's really nice to be able to work with someone of the opposite sex so that you have the two portions. You have the direct and then you have the circle. So it's really interesting. I could do a whole another thing on that, so I don't wanna get too far into that. The divine feminine is inner, correct. All swords, yep. I'm writing a book about women saying to guys who need it, "Get therapy." I believe, personally, there we go, she don't wanna stay up there, that she really doesn't wanna stay up there. "Okay, ma'am, okay." Um, I believe that everybody should find a good therapist. Good therapy. So there's a big difference between good therapy and bad therapy. No therapy is much better than bad therapy because bad therapy will lead you down a road of destruction. And I've seen a lot of that with people. So it's something we need to be aware of and be careful of. Now, ugh, okay. All this stuff is like hurting my head. I might take off my ears in a minute. But when you find the right therapist, and don't be afraid to ask for what you need. Don't be afraid to say, this isn't working for me, or this person isn't working for me. I started going to therapy probably in the early 2010s due to a situation. And I've gone off and on probably since I was like 19. Um, but I'm more on than off lately, like since I moved back to the mainland. But anyway, when you are with the wrong person, you generally can feel it, and it's not that so you want somebody who's gonna challenge you, but you don't necessarily want somebody who is going to, um, try to lead you down the wrong path, which I've seen with a lot of kids. You really need to be careful. I am very sensitive. I am I do psychic work. So a lot of therapists are like, "What is that? I don't understand that." It's alright if they don't understand. It's different if they don't condone, I guess, is what makes it different. So when people are judgmental instead of helpful, that becomes an issue. And when that happens, you need to walk away. So I haven't run across that very often, maybe 2, 3 times in the past 10 years, but when I've run across it, I can usually tell fairly quickly that this person is not gonna be helpful to me because they wanna see me as having issues that I don't have, in order to fit their personal paradigm instead of trying to understand, like, what I deal with on a regular basis. Now, the good therapists that I've seen, they tend to, try to understand what it is I deal with on a day to day, which is very unusual, and they try to help me deal with different types of trauma that I may come across that other people don't. So, like recalling that lifetime where my daughter died. I found out that she was murdered very horrifically. So things like that, most people don't need to deal with that. To me, it felt like it had just happened. It was horrible. I mean, it was really bad. I was very hurt by it. So, um, I mostly go to 12-step programs, free and supportive. Yes. I've probably been to more 12-step programs as a support for somebody else. Uh, because like I don't drink, never did drugs. Like I don't do any of this stuff. But I've gone to the 12-step programs to support friends of mine as they were finding their place either at Al-Anon or, I mean, I was blessed with, parents who were very spiritual and loving and, my mom's a little wacky, but she's still a good person and a good mom, so it's different. Um I do weekly therapy. My therapist is fantastic, really has helped me. Yes. And I mean, that's great. Sometimes you do go through periods of time where you're like, I don't want to talk about this anymore, or I don't want to see this therapist because they're just not like doing anything for me. And sometimes it takes time, but you have to do what feels right for you. And I think somebody asking the right questions is good. So, adult child of alcoholics and Al Anon were mine. Yes. Today, it's rageaholics for me. I feel like that too. And I think a lot of that has to do with, again, with all the excessive energy that is hitting the earth. And because of that excessive energy, um, I think we're all feeling rather put upon and much more anxious and angry than we would normally. So, again, to remind anybody who's come in and didn't see the beginning of the live stream, I am going to be teaching on Saturday, November 2nd at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and that is a paid class. And we're going to be talking about the chakra system. We're going to be opening up some ancillary chakras like the Gaia point. We're going to be talking about that so that to help everybody ground and clear and just be more centered, because I think we all need that. If you are interested in other things, um, you are right. I actually have written a lot and been published on effect of 11-year sunspot cycle. Cool. Yeah, take that energy, use it for you. Like we were saying, adapt. You got to use things for you. You can find on my website, I do all kinds of classes. I do different readings. I love to do parties and things like that because when we're doing parties and things, there are other things that we could do that you can't do over Zoom quite as effectively. I read handwriting, I do scrying, I read gemstones, I can read crystal balls, I can do your palms also. Although my son is much better at that than I am. And of course, I read any deck. You could literally hand me any deck, and I don't have to have seen it before, and I could read. And sometimes that's fun. Like when we're working a show and we're selling cards, people will buy a deck, and then I will read that deck for them. So, what does reading handwriting show, and how does it work? I have a whole class that is taped about that, but when you're doing just the signature, so I tell people to write their signature like they would if they were writing a check, which nowadays is like nobody writes checks anymore. But when you're writing a signature the way you would write a check, it shows me like how you feel about money, how you feel about your family, how you feel about yourself, how you feel, period. It gives you information about the person's emotional state, trustworthiness, how much they want to show somebody else, whether or not they have issues within the family. whether they're good at timing things, whether they're not, and different things like that. So, um, that you can get from the very beginning of just going into, um, the signature. Now, from there, I can do a full-on psychic reading just because now I have your energy and I can follow it. The other thing is to do all of the handwriting, and that is like a science, like, because you're counting the times somebody does certain things and the way things look and the way they feel, and through that, like, I've worked for different companies where back in the day when you actually had to fill out hold on, when you have to fill out, um, and write on the application, I would go through and analyze those, and I could tell them whether somebody was, like, would follow through, if they're overly emotional, if they are kinda like a poker player, like, you can't really trust them, if, they're angry, if they're a very angry person, and that kinda stuff would come up. Also, though, like, I was called upon to do that a couple of times where I would go through, like, all the current employees because there was employee theft, and you could narrow down who was most probably the thief, and then being intuitive, then we could really figure it out, and we would be able to, like, kinda, like, set them up so that we could catch them and be sure that of who we were talking to and what was going on. So, that was that was always interesting. I love doing that kinda stuff. I love doing I totally enjoy, working with businesses, and I love working with couples and with families to try and help them with their communication. So again, I'm gonna plug my book. You could buy it in print or you could buy it digitally. It is on Amazon.com as well as my other books. I think I've written 6. I'm terrible because I don't remember, but Paranormal Activity, there's 2. This is the first one. What are you dealing with? The second is called Psychic Self-Defense, what it is and why you need it. Psychic Self-Defense for every day, what it is and why you need it. And I would be showing you that one, except those sell out, like, as soon as I buy them. So I don't have any right at the moment. Um, let me know what other topics you guys are interested in. I wanna try and do a live stream maybe once a week and do it. And there may be a way where I can have a guest and, like, we could add somebody and then talk. I don't know whether I have to do that through StreamYard or how that would work, or if I have to do that through Zoom, but then it wouldn't be live because Zoom, there's so much of a lag. I do not like it at all to try and live stream with Zoom. But if you're interested, let me know. Don't forget, I am on Meetup. I'm back on there because my friend Rob actually has an account. He's let me use 2 of his slots. So we still have relationship empowerment and we have mystery, mystics, and metaphysics. And that's where I post different events that we're doing. And we do most of what I do on mystery, mystics, and metaphysics, we do on Zoom. The first part is recorded, that's usually the lesson, and that will come up here on YouTube. And then the second part is our discussion amongst each other, and that usually I do not record because it's that way people feel safe and they can get more personal and whatnot. So if you're interested, go to meetup.com and you can either look up my name or you can look up mystery, mystics, and metaphysics and relationship empowerment. And both of those should be set in Brookhaven, PA, I believe. Oh, thank you. You just followed my LinkedIn. Thank you, Carol. Yes, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. And I'm on X. I don't go on to the social media very often. Like, I go on to post, but I'm not on there like reading a lot. The best place to have interaction with me is here on YouTube. I do have Patreon also, and I'm on Rumble. I haven't quite set up that whole thing yet, and I'm trying to figure out where the best place to do this stuff is, because a lot of the parameters are changing on different platforms, but I'm already set up on YouTube, so this is good. Das ist gut. Yes. So hopefully you subscribe, and if you liked, make sure you hit the like button and just go to the like button. Yeah, Rumble isn't the best reach for certain things, but as an addition to YouTube, because you can be on Rumble and it will post to YouTube also. So you're hitting two birds with one stone, even though it's like two kind of separate audiences. So, but anybody who's got any tips, tricks, etc., let me know. I work with a gentleman in Bangladesh. His name is Tushar, and he is amazing. He has been absolutely wonderful. He has grown my YouTube channel quite a bit. Very easy to work with, very honest man, lots of integrity, very good guy. I trust him very much. And he's very, very good at what he does. So if you look at my videos that have a lot of views, usually he has worked on those, and I told him to put his contact information there. But if you would like to know more about Tushar or would like to get in contact with him and you don't feel like doing that, just text me. Geralyn at voiceofspirit.com, which is an email, not a text. Don't know why I did that. But if you want to email, I will send you his information. He's on WhatsApp. And with that, yeah, Tushar, he's amazing. He's really amazing. I love him. He also is very, so I'll tell you about him. Let me tell you about Tushar. So I decided the end of last year that I was thinking about I need to do something. I want to grow my YouTube or something. And of course, on LinkedIn, like everybody and their brother is trying to get in touch with me. Thank you, Natasha. I'll text you later. Thanks. So we contacted each other. It was the holidays. I was like, like, I'll talk to you in January. And I don't know how many of you know this, but in January, my closest friend died very suddenly, the first week of January. So when we got together, I was not in any condition to do anything, and it was very difficult. And instead of being pushy or anything, what he said was that he would pray for me, that I would, oh, his name. I'm sorry. And it just felt, it was so nice that he was like that, and he said, he would be here when I was ready and so on and so forth. And he did, like, he checked in on me, but he wasn't like, when are we going to do this? It was more like some of the other ones were like that. He like contacted me. He was like, are you okay? How are things going? I'm so sorry about your friend. Are you feeling better? That kind of thing. So I like that personal touch. And he also gets on me when I'm not doing things that I'm supposed to do. I'm sure I would be a lot more successful if I actually listened to everything that he told me to do. I'm going to grab his information right now for you guys. At least his email, so that you can see it. He's a very good man. And like over time, he's gotten even better, like working with my stuff. So here we go. Let's see. Is this going to let me? Ooh. Okay. I guess you just do that. I don't know. All right. Here's his email. If you want to email him, just let him know that, you heard about him from me. And yeah, he's really good. I like him. And several of my friends have started using him, and they also have wonderful things to say about him. So it's not just me because I'm cute. You are welcome. I should probably look for his, what's his do you guys have WhatsApp? WhatsApp is really good when you're talking to somebody internationally. Um, so, okay, let's see if I don't know if there's some way for me to, like, send you his voice. Yeah, WhatsApp, I don't think is letting me do anything with it. But if you have WhatsApp, I should be able to send him to you through WhatsApp, like, just shoot you over a thing with his information. So mine, of course, is my name and my usual phone number, my 808 number, and then I'll send you his information. But he's very reasonable, easy to work with, he's pretty quick, and he's just really I like him, he's a good guy. So that's my plug for Tushar. Or you could email him at that email address. That's where I contact him also. Um, so with that, we've been on for about 2 hours, 15 minutes. I'm starting to lose my voice. I think it's time to go. I don't know if he has a YouTube or not. I actually have never looked, but he works on your search engine optimization on your YouTube so that you can be found and so that you're part of the algorithm more. He'll tell you he could either make your thumbnails or like he helped me create better thumbnails. He could help beef up your description. There's a lot of different things that he does to help you do better on YouTube. I don't know if he has a YouTube or not. But I met him on LinkedIn. That's how we found each other on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure. Um, but yes, honorable man, trustworthy. I swear by him, obviously. So, and I will thank you. Bye, Tammy. Thank you for coming. This is my favorite day. Thank you guys for spending it with me. And I'm going to go now. Have a good night. God bless. Bye-bye. Yes, he is a spiritual person too. He doesn't do like all the stuff that I do or anything like that, but he's I believe he's Muslim because he talks about Allah, but he is very like loving and open and I just feel he's got a warmth about him and a genuineness. He's so genuine, you know. I don't trust people easily, which is odd, but I don't. I don't trust people very easily, but he won me over. Like I said, he's a good guy. And if he doesn't know something, he goes and finds out. He's not one of those people who's like, "Oh, sure, I could do that," and then he can't actually do it. If he's not sure of something, he has other people that he works with that he will bring in to help explain things and help with different things. Now, you got to remember English is his second language or so, but he speaks English pretty well. And when you're having problems understanding one another, sometimes it's better to write things out, or he will try to call and, like explain things. He wants you to understand him and he wants to be understood. So, but he's a very smart guy and very talented. So, yes. So happy Halloween, everybody. Have a great day. Talk to you guys later. Hope to see you guys on Saturday. Somebody, anyway. Thanks. Bye bye. Remember to subscribe and hit thumbs up.